What's up, everybody? I'm Eric Lloyd with Oregon Risk Management Solutions, and we're back for episode 11 of What Not to Do. It's just me this time, coming off of our big episode 10 celebration with the whole team. You're back to just me for a host. But same as we've done before, we're going to watch some safety fails. We're going to watch some workplace accidents. We're going to talk about what went wrong, what we can learn from it, how we could avoid it. We're probably going to have some laughs along the way. We're going to have some fun. With that, let's jump into our first clip for episode 11. All right, what's producer Dakota got for us this time? Oh man, holy cow. Ooh. He might need to go change his shorts after that one. So we're doing some excavation. We've got a guy down in the trench, and it doesn't even seem like that deep of a trench. It's blooper reel. It's not like we're 20 feet down underground or something, but we've got a guy in there and we're doing that excavating. And because of the digging that was going on, it was able to tip that whole thing over. So the name of the game here is shoring. Anytime we've got people down in trenches, even just a few feet down, we got to make sure we've got that shored up to support those sides and keep them from collapsing down on us. Man, you know, that aside, sure makes me nervous just having him even that close to that machinery that's operating. You know, he's just standing there leaning on a shovel, holding it up. Probably no reason he needed to be there in the first place. So, you know, we always want to make sure we got good standoff between our equipment and our pedestrians every chance we can. That dude's lucky. Okay, this one's titled, Quick, Spray Your Eyeballs with This. So this is going to go good. Oh my gosh. That brown scunge coming out. Looks like it's connected to a sewage line. And it just keeps going and going and going. That's a good find, producer Dakota, because we were just talking about that with somebody just yesterday in an inspection I was doing about our flushing and maintenance requirements for eyewash stations. Obviously, there's certain situations that are definitely required to have eyewash, especially working with pesticides or chemicals that are more caustic. There's some cases where we're required to have those, but a lot of people just elect to have them. Abundance of a caution, you know, hey, we get some crumbs in our eyes, we get dust in our eyes, something, going to have a good spot to wash our eyeballs out. That's a good call. Our eyeballs are relatively sensitive and they don't feel very good when we get stuff in them. Eye injuries are expensive. They don't heal very good. All around, I'm all for having those eyewash stations. But the thing with that is if we're going to have them, we got to maintain them. As delicious and refreshing as that water looks coming out of there, I'm not sure any of us would want to splash that in our eyeballs. And because of that, OSHA says that when we've got plumbed in eyewash stations like that, we're supposed to flush them every week. We're supposed to run the water for 30 seconds, getting that gross stuff out of there. Make sure we got fresh water on tap to be able to use if we need it. And then, of course, if it's not written down, it didn't happen. So we got to document that we're doing those inspections. So definitely important. That was gross. I would not want to get that in my face. Now we've got how not to unload a rail car. It's cool. He's got his hard hat. What can go wrong? We're backing cargo off with a forklift or something, but man, that looks heavy. Or a couple of forklifts. Or 3 forklifts. Oh, and we're tipping. So I was joking at first about how calm they were being, but honestly, once they had the disaster going there, I feel like they maybe handled it just about as well as they could. You know, some of the time the instinct is to like bail out of the forklift as soon as it starts tipping over, and that's when you run the risk of something dropping on you or falling or getting smushed. And you know, it shows the one dude there that's just kind of hanging out. I'd be willing to bet he maybe even had his seatbelt on because it didn't go flying forward into the windshield when that forklift was tipped all crazy. So I mean, good for him for just riding it out, knowing that he's safe inside the cage and nothing's going to happen while they stop and make a plan. The supervisor was there. He was maybe a little bit close to the unstable cargo. I would have loved if he was standing a little further back, but he didn't go running or screaming or freaking out. He stood there and it seemed like they were thinking through, what are we going to do? So, you know, to a degree, kudos to them. They handled the bad situation maybe as well as it could have been handled. What could we have done to avoid it? That feels like a case of let's make sure we're using the right tool for the job. I mean, I feel like the point at which we're needing to grab 3 forklifts to do this, then maybe a forklift isn't the tool for this, and we need a crane or something a little more industrial strength for unloading that weight of cargo. I'd also wonder if there's a way we could break that up into a few different loads, disconnect the cargo on their pipes or whatever that was, and move a few at a time rather than trying to unload the entire rail car. Ultimately, there might have been some cutting corners that put us here, right? These are the machines we've got instead of what we actually need, so let's try and make it work. Let's try and do the whole thing at once rather than taking the time to break it down. But again, I don't know, they got it unloaded really fast. All right, we've got clip number 4. This one's called Why Women Live Longer Than Men. We're about to get some shade thrown on us here. Again, I don't see the problem here. OSHA approved, it says right there. Just taking a little ride in his shop chair, on his crane. He's having some fun. Spoiler alert, I don't know if you guys know this, but that is not actually OSHA approved. I know the title says so, it's misleading, even with the emoji. Yeah, that's not OSHA approved. Our cranes in our shops are going to be used for picking up stuff, not people. He was being silly, he was having fun, but sometimes when we're being silly and having fun is when things go sideways. The chain drops suddenly and he falls out. The chair he's connected to obviously isn't rated for that. Whatever he tied off to breaks and falls. Definitely get the urge to monkey around with the things we have sometimes, but also have seen some people have some negative consequences as a result. So we sure want to avoid that. That does bring up a good chance to remind everybody, anytime we've got those cranes in our shops or anything like that, those are actually required to get professionally inspected annually, professionally or by a competent person that knows what the maintenance requirements looks like. But I've had some people recently get cited for not doing their inspections on their cranes and shops. So definitely something to keep in mind. All's well that ends well. He didn't get hurt, it looks like, but probably something to avoid. We've got one more clip for today. Number 5 is just titled, Look Safe. What could go wrong? Speaking of picking people up with cranes, holy cow. Again, a very apt title. What could go wrong here? Look safe. That doesn't even... I want to know what he's connected with. If he's actually using a harness even, I'm kind of inclined to say maybe not. That looks like a very improvised way of connecting him. That might have just been a ratchet strap tied around him or something for all we know. But whatever he's connected with, even if we give him the benefit of the doubt and say he's wearing an actual harness with something that's rated for the protecting him portion of that, we still got some real problems there. Again, obviously that equipment is not designed for picking up people into the air like that. It's designed for cargo. If it were to drop suddenly, if the operator were to make a mistake with it, in cases where you're hanging down further from it, sometimes you even see people just get, picked up by the wind and swung around or swung into things. There are very rare specific cases where you can move people with cranes, but it requires a special basket, it requires special equipment, it requires guidelines for it. There's a lot of extra requirements in those rare circumstances we do that all around. We want to just avoid it. If we'd maybe had like a man bucket on the end of that, or if we'd had, a different piece of equipment with a bucket designed to contain somebody, that's a different situation. The other thing that makes me a little nervous there is, boy, they were getting close to those power lines. I mean, it seemed like that was kind of his goal, was to go do an inspection on it. But this, barely looks like an official piece of equipment even. I'd hope they're like with the utility company or something. But the general rule of thumb, anytime we're going to get within 10 feet of any power lines, is they need to be deactivated, they need to be locked out. We don't even have to necessarily make contact with those power lines to get electrocuted. The electricity can arc and jump and hit you from a good distance away. I know of cases where that's happened like up to 6 feet away from a power line where people have been electrocuted. So if we're going to be picking somebody up like that and getting them so close to the power lines, we got to make sure that the lines are deactivated. And if the lines aren't deactivated, we got to do whatever we're doing from that 10-foot distance away at least. So again, I'm thinking he probably got lucky and walked away from that one, but it could have been bad. All right, guys, that's going to be episode 11 of What Not to Do. Producer Dakota found us some good videos that we can learn from. Hopefully you guys are taking these things home and talking about it with your crews and your friends and your employees, and maybe making some changes in your workplace as a result. As always, we'd love it if you'd follow us on YouTube, if you'll follow our Facebook pages. If you'll share what we post so that your friends and other people can see it as well. We're seeing more and more of a following. We really appreciate it. These are fun. We're enjoying making them. If you haven't been there already, check out our website, OregonRMS.com. You can see our trauma kits, our fire extinguishers, talks about some of the different services we offer. And we'll see you back next time for episode 12 of What Not to Do.